Family. That was the word he used. I was standing in my manager's office, my hands still shaking, my voice barely holding together, telling him that his best friend had just cornered me in the storage room, that he had pressed his body against mine, that he had whispered things that made my skin crawl. And my manager, the man who was supposed to protect me, leaned back in his chair and said, "That's Derek. He's family. He's been my best friend since we were 7 years old. You must have misunderstood him." I didn't misunderstand anything, but I didn't say that. Not yet. Instead, I nodded, walked out of his office, and felt the weight of my phone in my apron pocket. The phone that had been recording for the last 11 minutes. What happened after that night would change everything. But before I tell you how it all unfolded, I need to take you back to the beginning. Back to my first week at Sullivan's Grill, when I thought I had finally found the place where I belonged. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Please write in the comments what city or country you're watching from right now. I love knowing where my listeners are. And here's my second question. If you've ever had a manager protect someone who made you uncomfortable, if you were ever told that the person hurting you was too important to confront, I want to hear about it. Share your experience in the comments. You might help someone else feel less alone. And while you're there, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you know someone who needs to hear this story, send it to them. Now, let me take you back to where everything started. My name is Maya Thompson. I was 31 years old when I walked into Sullivan's Grill for my first shift, and I had been a server for 9 years by then. 9 years of learning how to read a room before I entered it. 9 years of perfecting the smile that said everything and nothing at the same time. I thought I understood how the world worked. I thought I had seen every type of difficult customer, every kind of dismissive manager, every version of the same old story. I was wrong. Sullivan's Grill sat on the corner of Madison and Fifth, a red brick building that had been serving the same meatloaf recipe since 1962. The kind of place where the leather booths had molded to generations of bodies, where the jukebox still played Patsy Cline if you fed it quarters, where the coffee was always fresh, and the regulars always had opinions about it. It smelled like bacon grease and nostalgia, like a place that had decided what it was 50 years ago and never saw a reason to change. The owner was Bill Sullivan, 63, silver-haired, and almost never there. He had inherited the restaurant from his father and seemed to view it less as a business and more as a burden he couldn't quite bring himself to sell. Most of his time was spent on a golf course in Arizona. The daily operations fell to his general manager, a man named Craig Peters. I met Craig on my first day. He was 47, with a stocky build and thinning hair that he combed over like it was fooling anyone. His handshake lasted 3 seconds too long, and when he smiled, it never quite reached his eyes. "Maya," he said, looking at my application like it contained state secrets. 9 years of experience, that's good. We need people who know what they're doing around here. I'm a hard worker, I said. I show up on time, I don't cause drama, and I know how to handle difficult situations. He laughed. Difficult situations? Yeah, we get those. But you know what? The key to this job isn't handling difficult situations. It's knowing which situations are actually difficult and which ones just seem that way because you're looking at them wrong. I didn't know what that meant. I would learn. One more thing, Craig said, standing up. There's someone I want you to meet. He's not an employee, but he's important around here. Been coming to this place since before I started. Basically family. He led me out to the bar where a man sat alone nursing a beer. He was 51, tall and broad-shouldered, with a face that might have been handsome 20 years ago before something, bitterness or disappointment or just time, carved deep lines into it. He wore a flannel shirt and watched the room with eyes that seemed to be taking inventory of everything they saw. "Derek," Craig said, his voice warming in a way it hadn't during our entire interview. "This is Maya. She's new. Maya, this is Derek Holloway. We grew up together. Same street, same school, same little league team. He's been my best friend for 40 years. Derek turned to look at me. His gaze started at my face, dropped slowly to my chest, lingered there, then climbed back up. He didn't try to hide it. He didn't seem to think he needed to. "Nice to meet you, sweetheart," he said. "Craig's got good taste in new hires." "Nice to meet you too," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Derek's here almost every day," Craig continued. "If he ever needs anything, you take care of him. Anything at all. He's not just a customer. He's family." That word again. Family. I smiled the smile I had perfected over 9 years. Of course. But as I walked away to start my first shift, I felt Derek's eyes following me across the room. And something in my stomach turned cold. I knew that look. I had seen it before. On faces in other restaurants, in other cities, attached to other names. The look that said, "I see you as something to be consumed." I told myself I was overreacting, that I was reading too much into a glance, that not every man who looked at me that way was dangerous. But my body knew the truth before my mind was ready to accept it. And my body was already afraid. The first 2 weeks passed without incident. Derek was there every day, sitting at the same spot at the bar, nursing beers and watching the servers work. He never caused trouble. He just watched. Sometimes he would nod at me when I passed, that slow smile spreading across his face. Sometimes he would say things like, "Looking good today, Maya," or "That uniform suits you." Small comments. Nothing I could point to as clearly wrong, but there was something underneath those words. Something that felt like a hand hovering just above my skin, not quite touching but close enough to feel the heat. On my 15th day, it changed. I was in the back, restocking the napkin dispensers near the storage room, when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, expecting one of the other servers. It was Derek. "Hey there," he said, stepping closer. "Settling in okay?" "Fine, thank you." I tried to step past him, but he moved to block my path. Not aggressively, just enough to make clear that he wasn't ready for the conversation to end. "Craig told me you're one of the best servers he's hired in years. That's high praise. He doesn't give that out easy." That's kind of him to say. You know what I think? Derek stepped closer. I could smell beer on his breath, cologne underneath it. "I think Craig's right. I've been watching you. The way you move through this place. The way you handle the customers. You've got something special. I should get back to work, Derek." "In a minute." He smiled. "I'm trying to give you a compliment. Most girls would be grateful." "I am grateful. But I have tables waiting." He didn't move. Just stood there, close enough that I could feel the heat coming off his body. "You know, Maya, the girls who do well at Sullivan's are the ones who understand how things work around here. Craig and me, we look out for each other. Have for 40 years. And the people Craig likes, I like. You follow?" "I follow." "Good." He reached out and touched my arm. Just a light touch, fingers brushing against my skin, but it lingered. "I think we're going to get along real well, you and me." Then he stepped aside and walked back to the bar, leaving me standing there with my heart pounding in my chest. That night I sat in my car for 20 minutes before driving home. I thought about quitting. I had done it before. Left jobs because of men like Derek, because of managers who looked the other way, because the cost of staying was higher than the cost of starting over. But I was tired. Tired of running. Tired of being the one who had to sacrifice while men like Derek kept their seats at the bar and their hands wherever they wanted. So instead of quitting, I made a different choice. I started writing things down. Nothing dramatic. Just notes in my phone after each shift. October 15th, 2:47 p.m. Derek commented on my body while I was serving him his usual beer, said the uniform looked better on me than any other server. Craig was 3 feet away, heard everything, said nothing. October 18th, 6:32 p.m. Derek touched my lower back as I passed his stool. Let his hand linger for 3 full seconds. When I stepped away, he winked, told Craig. Afterward, Craig said Derek's just friendly. That's how he shows appreciation. Don't read into it. I didn't know what I would do with these notes. I just knew that I needed them. Because in my experience, when a woman says something happened, the first question people ask is prove it. And I was going to be able to prove it. But the notes in my phone weren't enough. I knew that. Words against words. My memory against his denial. I needed something more. That's when I started thinking about recording. The idea scared me at first. It felt like crossing a line, like turning what was happening into something official and permanent. As long as I was just taking notes, I could tell myself it wasn't that serious. Recording meant admitting that it was. But 3 weeks in, something happened that made the decision for me. It was a Thursday night. The restaurant was busy, the way it always got when the weather turned cold and people wanted comfort food and warm lighting. I was carrying a tray of drinks to table 9 when Derek appeared in my path. "Hey, beautiful," he said, loud enough that the table next to us could hear. "You ignoring me today? That hurts my feelings." "Just busy, Derek. Big crowd tonight." "Too busy for me?" He put his hand on my arm, stopping me mid-stride. "Craig wouldn't like that. You know how much he values hospitality." The people at table 8 were watching. I could feel their eyes on us. Could see the woman's expression shift from curiosity to discomfort. "Derek, I have customers waiting. And I'm a customer too." His grip tightened slightly. "The most important one in this place, some would say. 40 years I've been coming here. 40 years of loyalty. That should count for something, don't you think?" "It does count. But I need to deliver these drinks." He held my arm for one more second, then released it with a smile. "Go on then. But save some of that attention for me later. We should talk. Get to know each other better." I delivered the drinks with shaking hands. When I got to the service station, I pulled out my phone and opened the voice memo app. I pressed record. For the rest of that shift, my phone sat in my apron pocket, recording everything. Every word Derek said. Every dismissive comment from Craig. Every moment that I had been trying to convince myself wasn't as bad as it felt. When I listened back that night, I heard it all with new clarity. The threat underneath Derek's friendliness. The way Craig laughed at his jokes while I stood there trying to make myself small. The sound of my own voice, steady on the surface but trembling underneath. I saved that recording in 3 different places. And I kept going. Recording number 4 captured Derek telling me I had the kind of body that made men do stupid things. Recording number 7 caught him asking if my boyfriend knew how lucky he was, then adding, "If you don't have one, I could fill that position." Recording number 9 was the sound of Craig telling me I needed to lighten up, that Derek was just being Derek, that the girls who made it at Sullivan's were the ones who knew how to take a joke. Each recording was another piece of evidence. Each one was another brick in the wall I was building. And I kept building, day after day, shift after shift, waiting for something I couldn't quite name. I didn't have to wait long. It happened on a Friday night in late November. The dinner rush had just ended, and I was restocking supplies in the storage room at the back of the restaurant. The door was open. I was alone. Then I wasn't. I heard it close behind me, the soft click of the latch catching. When I turned around, Derek was standing there, his back against the door, that smile spreading across his face like something uncoiling. "Hey there," he said. "Finally got you alone." My phone was in my apron pocket. I had already pressed record when I walked into the storage room. I always pressed record now. Derek, I need to get back to the floor. In a minute. He stepped forward. I've been wanting to talk to you. Really talk. Without all those customers around. We can talk at the bar. During my break. No. Another step. I want to talk here. Privately. The storage room was small. Metal shelves lined the walls, stacked with napkins and cleaning supplies and boxes of things I had never needed to inventory. There was no other exit. Derek stood between me and the door. You know what I like about you, Maya? His voice was low now. Intimate. You've got spirit. Most girls here, they figure it out quick. They let me buy them drinks after shift. Let me take them for rides in my truck. Let me show them how things work around here. But you make me work for it. I respect that. Derek, please move. I'm not done. He was close enough now that I could see the broken blood vessels in his eyes, could smell the beer on his breath, mixed with something sharper underneath. Craig says you've been complaining about me. Says you think I'm being inappropriate. That hurts, Maya. It really does. After everything I've done to make you feel welcome. I haven't complained. I just asked him to talk to you about boundaries. Derek laughed. A cold sound. Boundaries. That's a nice word. You learned that in college? He stepped closer still. Let me explain something to you. Craig and me, we've been friends since we were 7 years old. 7. We've been through everything together. His divorce, my divorce, the years when this place almost went under and I loaned him money to keep it open. Money, Maya. My money. So when I tell Craig something, he listens. And when Craig tells his servers something, they listen too. You understand what I'm saying? I understand. Good. He reached out and touched my face. I flinched back, and his expression hardened. Don't do that. I'm being nice. I'm being patient. But my patience has limits. Derek, I need to leave. And I need you to understand something. His hand dropped from my face to my shoulder, then to my arm, gripping tight. You want to keep working here? You want Craig to keep scheduling you for the good shifts? Then you need to figure out how to make me happy. That's how this works. That's how it's always worked. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears, but I kept my voice steady. Let go of my arm, Derek. When I'm ready. Let go. Something in my voice must have surprised him. He stared at me for a long moment, his grip tightening before finally releasing. But as I moved toward the door, he grabbed my wrist and squeezed. Hard. Not enough to leave a mark, but enough to send a message. Think about what I said, he whispered. Think about it real carefully, because I've been patient with you, Maya. But I won't be patient forever. Then he let go and stepped aside. I walked out of that storage room without looking back, my wrist throbbing, my hands shaking. That recording was 4 minutes and 23 seconds long, and everything that happened after began with it. I didn't go home that night. I sat in my car in the parking lot, engine running, heat blasting, and listened to the recording 3 times. I heard my own voice, trying to stay calm. I heard Derek's voice, dripping with entitlement and threat. I heard the moment he grabbed my wrist, the small gasp I didn't even remember making. Then I typed up an email, every detail of what had happened, exactly as I remembered it. I described the storage room, the closed door, the words he used, the way he touched my face and grabbed my arm. I asked for Derek to be banned from the restaurant. I asked for a meeting to discuss safety protocols. I sent it to Craig's work email at 11:47 p.m. His response came the next morning. Not through email. He pulled me into his office before my shift. Maya, sit down. I sat. I got your email. He said it the way someone might say, "I got your parking ticket." An inconvenience. A problem to be managed. "Listen, I talked to Derek this morning. He says you completely misunderstood the situation." Misunderstood what? "He cornered me in the storage room. He grabbed my arm. He told me I had to make him happy if I wanted to keep my job." Craig sighed. The sigh of a man being asked to deal with something beneath his pay grade. "He said he was trying to have a conversation with you about fitting in better. He said you got defensive, and he may have come across too strong. But his intentions were good." Good intentions? Craig, he blocked the door. He wouldn't let me leave. He said the door swung shut on its own. "That storage room door's been sticking for months. We really need to get it fixed." I stared at him. "You're not serious." "Maya." Craig leaned forward, and his voice shifted into something he probably thought was fatherly. "I've known Derek for 40 years. 40 years. He was the best man at my wedding. He was there when my daughter was born. When my wife left me, he was the one who showed up with a bottle of whiskey and sat with me until 4 in the morning. That's who Derek is. He's not some predator. He's not a threat. He's my brother in every way that matters. He threatened my job. He grabbed me. He touched your arm during a conversation. That's not grabbing. And he didn't threaten anything. He was explaining how things work around here, how relationships work. He's been a part of this place for decades, Maya. You've been here for a month. Maybe try to see things from his perspective." I felt something crack inside my chest. Not break. Crack. Like ice before it shatters. "So you're not going to do anything?" I did do something. I talked to him. Told him to be more careful about how he expresses himself. But I'm not banning my best friend from a restaurant he's been coming to since before you were born. That's not happening. I stood up. "Okay. Okay?" Craig looked relieved. "Good. I knew you'd understand." "I understand perfectly." I walked out of his office through the restaurant to my section. I smiled at my tables. I took orders. I delivered food. I did everything I was supposed to do. And in my pocket, my phone recorded every minute of my shift. Every word Derek said when he arrived at 2. Every joke Craig made about me needing to loosen up. Every moment of a system designed to protect everyone except the people it hurt. That was recording number 12. I had 23 by the time December arrived, but I was still waiting. Waiting for something I couldn't quite name. Waiting until I had enough. Enough evidence. Enough courage. Enough certainty that what I was about to do was right. The certainty came on December 11th from an unexpected source. I was serving a family of 4, parents and 2 young kids, when Derek walked past my table. As he passed, he ran his fingers across my lower back. Slowly, deliberately, in full view of everyone. The mother saw it. Her eyes went wide and she leaned over to whisper something to her husband. The kids kept coloring their menus, oblivious. But the parents knew. They had seen. When I brought their check, the father stopped me. "Miss, I don't mean to overstep. But that man who touched you earlier. Are you okay? That seemed, well, it seemed like something that shouldn't happen." I looked at him, at his wife, whose eyes were full of concern, at their kids, still coloring, still innocent. "I'm handling it," I said. "But thank you for noticing." He nodded. When they left, there was an extra $20 on the table tucked under a napkin. On the napkin, he had written, "You deserve better than this." I kept that napkin. I still have it. And that night, I made a decision. I called an employment lawyer. Her name was Patricia Okonkwo. She had been practicing for 22 years, specializing in workplace harassment cases. I found her through a website that matched victims with attorneys. I called her office at 9 the next morning. "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. I told her about Derek, about Craig, about the storage room and the emails and the recordings I had been collecting for 2 months. I told her about the napkin from the customer and the other servers who looked away whenever Derek was around. I told her everything. When I finished, there was silence on the line. "Maya," she finally said, "how many recordings do you have?" 23. "And the email chain with your manager?" "Every message saved, his responses too." "Documentation log?" "Every incident, dates, times, exact quotes when I could remember them." More silence, then. "I've been doing this for over 2 decades. What you've described, the pattern of harassment by a third party, and the deliberate inaction by management despite documented complaints, that's textbook employer liability. Textbook. When can you come into my office?" I went the next day. Patricia Okonkwo was in her 50s, with gray-streaked hair and reading glasses she kept pushing up her nose. She listened to 3 of my recordings, read through my email chain, and shook her head slowly. "This manager," she said, "Craig. He put his responses in writing. He actually committed to email that he spoke to Derek, that he considered the behavior acceptable, that he wasn't going to take action. Does he have any idea what he's done? I don't think he thought anyone would ever see those emails except me. That's the thing about people like Craig. They're so used to being protected that they forget protection can end." She closed my file. "We're going to file with the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. They'll investigate. And based on what you've shown me, I expect this to move very, very quickly. What happens to me? Can they fire me? They can try. But if they do, that's retaliation, which is a separate violation. My advice? Keep working, keep documenting, give them nothing, and let me handle the rest." I walked out of her office feeling something I hadn't felt in months: hope. The EEOC complaint was filed on December 22nd. I kept working at Sullivan's while the investigation proceeded. Every shift felt like walking through a minefield, but I did it. I smiled at Derek. I nodded at Craig. I gave them nothing they could use against me. On January 5th, the notification arrived at Sullivan's Grill. A formal complaint had been filed. An investigation was beginning. I wasn't there when Craig got the letter. But one of the other servers told me she heard him screaming behind his office door for 20 minutes straight. The next day, he called me in. "What the hell is this, Maya?" His face was red. His hands were shaking. On his desk was the EEOC notification. "You filed a federal complaint? Against me? Against the hostile work environment created by Derek Holloway's harassment and your failure to address it." My failure? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I talked to him multiple times. What more do you want? I wanted you to protect your employee instead of your friend." "Derek is not just my friend." Craig's voice cracked. "He's my family. He's the only family I have left. And you're trying to destroy that because, what? He paid you some compliments? Because he touched your arm?" He cornered me in a storage room. He grabbed my wrist. He told me I had to make him happy to keep my job. And you knew. You knew. And you did nothing. I did what I could. You did what was convenient. There's a difference." Craig stared at me for a long moment. Then his expression shifted into something colder. "You need to drop this. Call them. Tell them you exaggerated. Tell them it was a misunderstanding." "Are you asking me to lie to a federal agency?" "I'm asking you to be reasonable. And I'm telling you that this conversation is being recorded, and that asking an employee to withdraw a harassment complaint could be considered retaliation, which is a separate violation." The color drained from Craig's face, then flooded back, darker than before. "Get out of my office." I left, and I saved that recording in 4 different places. The investigation lasted 3 months. The EEOC investigator, a woman named Sharon Williams, was thorough beyond anything I had expected. She interviewed me for 4 hours. She interviewed Craig for 6. She interviewed Derek, who apparently tried to charm her and failed spectacularly. She interviewed 5 current employees and 3 former ones. And here's what she found. I wasn't the first. 2 other servers had complained about Derek over the past 5 years. Both had been told the same things I was told. He's family. He's harmless. Don't be so sensitive. Both had quit. Neither had known they could file a formal complaint. But they talked to Sharon Williams. They told her everything. And their stories matched mine. The investigation also discovered something else. Craig had been receiving free car repairs from Derek's auto shop for years. Oil changes, tire rotations, brake jobs, all free. Derek had been paying Craig to look the other way, and Craig had been accepting that payment while his employees suffered. In April, the EEOC issued their finding, cause determination. They found reasonable cause to believe that Sullivan's Grill had violated federal law by maintaining a hostile work environment and retaliating against an employee who reported harassment. What happened next happened fast. The owner, Bill Sullivan, flew back from Arizona. There were lawyers. There were meetings. There were offers. And then there was a trial. 6 days in a courtroom, 6 days of Craig's lawyers trying to paint me as oversensitive, as vindictive, as someone who had misunderstood innocent friendliness. 6 days of Patricia dismantling every argument they made. She played my recordings. The jury heard Derek's voice in that storage room. They heard Craig dismissing my complaints. They heard everything. She called the former employees as witnesses. She presented the evidence of the free car repairs. She showed the email chain and my documentation log. And then she called me to the stand. I testified for 4 hours. I told them everything. Every incident, every recording, every time I had reported something and been told to let it go. When the jury came back, the foreman read the verdict without emotion. We find in favor of the plaintiff on all counts. We award compensatory damages of $400,000. We award punitive damages of $200,000. $600,000. Craig was fired that same day. Not resigned. Fired. Derek was banned from Sullivan's permanently. His auto shop lost 3 major contracts within weeks of the verdict being reported in the local news. His wife filed for divorce 2 months later. Sullivan's Grill closed 6 months after the trial. The building is a sports bar now. Different name, different owner, different everything. I drive past it sometimes. I don't feel triumph. I don't feel revenge. I just feel free. A few months ago, I got a message from a young server across the country. She had read about my case. She was experiencing something similar. She asked me what she should do. I sent her Patricia's contact information. I told her to start documenting immediately. 2 weeks ago, she messaged me again. She had filed her own complaint. Her manager was being investigated. She wanted to thank me. That message meant more than the money, more than the verdict, more than watching Craig walk out of Sullivan's for the last time, because that's what this is really about. Not revenge, not punishment. It's about making sure the next woman has a better chance than the last one. They told me he was family. I showed them that family doesn't mean protection from consequences. And somewhere right now, another server is pressing record. Another manager is about to learn that looking the other way has a cost. This is how things change. One recording at a time, one complaint at a time. One woman deciding that she's done accepting what she was told to accept. Sullivan's Grill is gone. Craig is unemployable. Derek is divorced and disgraced. And I am still here, telling this story. Last week, I started at a new restaurant. On my first day, the manager pulled me aside. Her name was Sandra. Maya, if anyone ever makes you uncomfortable here, you come to me immediately. We don't make excuses. We don't protect anyone over our staff. You mean that? I read about your case in the news. That's partly why I hired you. For the first time in a very long time, I smiled. A real smile. Not the empty one I had perfected. This story doesn't end with revenge or bitterness, it ends with change. One restaurant at a time, one woman at a time deciding that silence is no longer an option. They told me he was family. They told me to smile and deal with it. They were wrong. And now they know it.